Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons, and Pius Group of Institution, Guwahati.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. I have a simple question, viewers. Does the Northeast have a huge opportunity waiting to be tapped by going regional and looking at a common market comprising the 8 states? Don't forget, we are a region of 45 million people. My optimism has actually originated from Prime Minister Modi's clarion call for the need to go local. Can the Northeast unite with a common manufacturing and marketing strategy to change our economic landscape once and for all? Will the COVID-19 crisis provide us this opportunity? To throw light on the subject, I have with me tonight two very articulate chief ministers from the region, Pu Zoramthanga of Mizoram and Mr. Conrad Sangma of Meghalaya. Joining me will be former Assam Chief Minister and veteran Congress leader Mr. Tarun Gogoi, and from New Delhi I am being joined by BJP National Spokesperson and Supreme Court Advocate Mr. Nalin Kohli, who knows the Northeast well. And with me in the studios is political analyst Mr. Swapnanil Barua. Gentlemen, welcome to Northeast Tonight. I would like to go straight to New Delhi first. To Mr. Nalin Kohli, BJP National Spokesperson and Supreme Court Advocate. Mr. Nalin Kohli, welcome to Northeast Tonight. Mr. Nalin Kohli, welcome to Northeast Tonight. My question is, why is the Prime Minister's Go Local call important in today's post-COVID scenario?
That's a very relevant question, Wasbir. Because what we need to understand is that this call for self-reliance by the Honorable Prime Minister is not a call of becoming an isolationist country, which means looking only inward, but this is a call about building it from a bottom-up approach where manufacturing, self-reliance is built everything at the local level, and then we are able to compete globally. So we start from the local and become part of the global value addition supply chain. So it's a massive reorientation of how we are going to look at it. Because after all, what we are seeing in the COVID times is that A, we need to make development more broad-based. For example, there's an imbalance in terms of development that most of the factories and industrializations of the western part of India. The eastern part requires to be strengthened further so that people don't need to travel so much across the country looking for jobs. There are no deficit areas in terms of supply. So you build this whole thing from a local up movement. That's what it's about.
All right, Mr. Nalin Kohli, the focus clearly is back on Swadeshi. My question is, how is Go Local going to be different from Make in India?
Make in India is a program for building and encouraging investments for manufacturing within the country. So it's about the manufacturing capacity. Going local goes beyond manufacturing. It's a far wider concept. So the Make in India would be a subset of the total. Going local in Swadeshi, that sense of building from the grassroots upward, is a complete national design.
All right, I think there is a perceptible difference between the Make in India, which was an initiative of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government in the recent past, and going local, which is a fallout of the COVID crisis. Mr. Nalin Kohli, stay on, and viewers, Nalin Kohli will be joining me slightly later in the program. I am now with me two chief ministers, Mr. Conrad Sangma, Chief Minister of Meghalaya, and Mr. Zoramthanga, Chief Minister of Mizoram. Let's have the two very important leaders from the northeastern region on the screen. Let us have all of them on the screen, the two chief ministers on the screen. Okay, let me first go to you, Mr. Conrad Sangma. Welcome, first of all. Mr. Conrad Sangma, the Prime Minister has made a go local appeal. My question is, how can Northeast capitalize on going local? How do we start?
Yeah, Wasbir, it's actually a very practical question, and obviously something I think we need to take advantage of at this point in time. And going local would make complete sense, because we've also realized that self-reliance is something that's very important for us, and not having to depend so much on outside. So I think Northeast itself is a region which is very diverse and has so many resources in it. And I think if the right policy is adopted and if the right programs are made, then I'm sure that we'll be able to take advantage of this. I think the right way would be for each state to come up with an economic policy in this current situation, and figure out what kind of policy changes the states need to make, which are the areas of importance and strength that each state has. And so I think it will be important for each state in the Northeast to really study their strengths and weaknesses and the opportunities that are there, and then accordingly plan. But I think time is of the essence, so it needs to be done very fast.
Okay, I think that's a very interesting point which Mr. Conrad Sangma has made. We have to identify our strengths and weaknesses and then forge ahead. Let me go to Mizoram, let me go to Aizawl, where, I have Mr. Joramthanga, one of the most veteran political leaders in the entire Northeast, who has seen it all. Pu Joramthanga, thank you for joining me once again on the show. Now, question is very simple. You have seen, the passion with which the Prime Minister had made this go local call the other day during his fifth address to the nation in the midst of this COVID crisis. Question is, can Prime Minister's go local call benefit the Northeast, and if so, how, according to you?
Well, certainly it is, because here in the Northeast, as you know, we are landlocked by the chicken neck narrow corridor of the Siliguri of the rest of the Northeast. And so communication in the form of railway, motor, and many other things, it is hardly connected with the rest of the country. Any eventuality in the case of natural calamity, political uprising, it can cut off the whole of the Northeast. In a time like this, even the economy of the land means the Northeast, we will have to stand on our own feet. So, in the form of this Prime Minister call for go local, it's quite beneficial for the whole of the Northeast, because, as you know, during my underground days, I am the person who like to stand on his own feet.
Right.
Where I said, we, the Mizo people, will have to stand on our own feet. The same thing in the whole of the Northeast. I tell the whole of the Northeast to stand on their own feet. So this called go local. It can be the starting point for the whole of the Northeast people. It will be very beneficial.
Okay, very beneficial. That is very interesting that the emphasis by Pu Joramthanga on the need for the Northeast to stand on their own feet. Mr. Conrad Sangma, we must not forget the fact that the Northeast has a total of 45 million people. Do you think we need to work on a common Northeast market idea and see if we can sell our produce amongst ourselves? 45 million people, after all, is not a small population. It's a huge size. Mr. Conrad Sangma.
Yes, I think this also is a very, very important aspect I think we need to look at. Northeast having a big population is an advantage to us because the consumption itself is huge, and we can really sell our products to each other. And I think even products from outside, can come to our state, to our region. So yes, I think numbers are important. It's always good to look at Northeast as a region rather than looking at each state as individual states. It's something like the European Union concept. And I think if you look at each country in the European Union, they may be small. But when you put the European Union together, it's a large area and a large market. So I think it's the same concept for the Northeast.
Okay, I think Pujoram Thanga, Mr. Conrad Sangma, your Meghalaya counterpart, believes that common market can be a good idea. 45 million people, after all, 8 states. We have got a huge population. It can be a sizable market. What do you think, Pujoram Thanga, on the possibility of a common market in the Northeast?
Well, certainly there is. As you said, Northeast is a vast land, and we have the greatest asset, that is land. For example, in the state of Mizoram, we have practically more than 30,000 square kilometers of land, and that is with a very good rainfall and where everything thrives well. So, as the economists say, the primary sector of economy can start here in Mizoram and all the other northeastern states. There are a lot of land here in the northeast, whether in Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Assam, Mizoram, etc., etc. So that is the greatest asset that we have. If we utilize all the assets, the big asset that every state is having, by growing the primary sector main economy, then manufacturing it here and then marketing it outside, we can be one of the the best income state here in the whole of India, because the primary sector, the land-based economy, can start from all the states of the Northeast.
Okay, I'd request, I'll continue this conversation with the two very, very important political leaders in the Northeastern region, both chief ministers. Now, let me quickly bring in Mr. Swapnanil Barua. You have heard, Mr. Conrad Sangma identifying, he said that the need for the Northeast now is to identify our common strengths and weaknesses. And both these leaders feel that, from their experience, they're saying that common market idea can really click. What is your considered opinion, very quickly, before I go back to them again?
I think this is a very good idea in the sense that they have realized that there is a potential in this region to be self-sustaining on our own. Each of the states could identify their strengths aimed at the northeastern market and really go ahead in meeting each other without overlapping, because there is a tendency that if you do sectarian, everyone will be thinking in terms of developing bamboo, everyone will think in terms of developing rice or some organic food or something of that sort. So let us not clash. And I think herein comes the role of NEC and the central agencies working here.
Yeah, but my question is very quickly, before I go back to the two chief ministers, I think, do you think, the chief ministers now must get together and bulldoze a strategy, formulate and bulldoze a strategy? There is no time to waste. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that is absolutely necessary. And then now the question is then who will take the lead? Is Assam as this, the big brother here, if I can use the term, can really take the start, but I think instead of that, I think if the central agency or the Ministry of Donor is there to take the lead and really divide the work amongst the region,
I think that is not a big issue. Anybody can take the lead. Let me once again go back to Mr. Conrad Sangma. Mr. Conrad Sangma, can we in the Northeast actually go local and remove the tag of underdevelopment by mass production of our handloom and handicrafts and value add to our local resources which are in abundance, like for example bamboo? See, we have our handlooms, handicrafts, we hardly make value additions, we have huge resources like bamboo, but we talk only about its potential. Now can we capitalize on these resources and remove once and for all the tag of underdevelopment that our region has been going around with for decades now? Mr. Conrad Sangma.
Yes, Wasbir, this is also a very, very important area we can look at. But I would like to just put a small point out here that handloom and other sectors, handicraft sectors are of course areas we can look at. But I think the market for this will still be outside. So therefore, we'll need to see how we can link the markets to these products from outside. from here to the outside market. And obviously bamboo is something that grows naturally out here, and we have a huge strength. Even Government of India has mentioned about focusing on bamboo for the Northeast. So I think there's a huge opportunity, because the kind of products and the processing that can be done for bamboo and the opportunity it has for us as a region, I think is immense. And I think we have not been able to take full advantage of that. So if we can do that,
right,
I think that'll be great, and I think this is the right time to do it.
So let me once again go to Aijal Puzoramthanga. Is this the right time for the Northeast to create livelihood options, to look for livelihood options, set up institutes of higher learning so that our students do not have to go outside, venture out of their states? Because now what we are seeing is that our students go out even to pursue basic courses. Not that everybody is going out of the Northeast to pursue highly specialized courses. They are going only because we don't have specialized institutes or institutes of higher learning. And some of our workers who today are desperately wanting to come back home are working for small amounts of 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 rupees because we don't have the livelihood options here. What is your take on this, Pujoramthanga?
Well, it is. In as much as I said about the basic primary economy, the same thing happens with the brain drain and even the educational institution and other things also. Because here the people, if we have a good educational institution, now it's very difficult to go outside Northeast and have an education outside. It is very costly. So in the same way, we will have to start this the educational facilities here in the Northeast, so that the lower education, the middle education, the higher education, as well as the technical educations also, we can avail here in the Northeast. It is a high time that we should have a mindset like this.
Now again, Mr. Joramthanga, our skilled workers are working outside for lack of job opportunities, as I have said. How should the Northeast state governments move to keep them here so that we can ourselves utilize their skills? We seem to be lacking in ideas. That is what the perception is. Why should our people go out even for basic jobs? Not that they are working in big technical institutions and specialized agencies. They are just working in malls, shopping places, beauty parlors. I mean, I'm not generalizing though. Pujoramthanga.
As I have said, here the greatest asset that we have is a land. I will say an example here in Mizoram. It can feed 3 to 4 times the present population of Mizoram, that is, the land can feed. So, by utilizing the produce of the land and manufacture it here, instead of going out for employment, we can call in the employees, and instead of being an employee, we can be the employer. Because if the land like this belongs to Japan, if the land like this belongs to Israel, or some other economic developed countries, they will be one of the richest country, land, not only in India, but in the world as well. Because we have even a lot of oil, gas, economic resources, agriculture, horticulture, forest resources,
right.
Everything is here. The only point is that we have not utilized it economically as it should be. Once this is utilized and this is activated, we can be a great boom in economy in the whole of India.
Now, let me, Sapnil Barua, Sapnil Barua, before once again I go back to the two chief ministers, question is, we have very, very dynamic political leaders. 2 of them are sitting with us in the panel today. My question is, what would you like to tell, for example, Mr. Conrad Sangma and Mr. Joramthanga, what would you like to tell them? Now, who leads is a different matter. Somebody has to show and start the way. Now, as I have been saying, we have, as Mr. Joramthanga has said, we have so much of land with us. We can capitalize on that. because he said that if Japan, it would have been Japan, they would have capitalized on the land which is not available there but available with us. So what are the two specific things that you'd like to tell these two political leaders from the northeastern region?
I think they should immediately start on, as they had mentioned themselves, that what are their strongest points. They should immediately come about and go about in a fixed date kind of a manner, because you don't have time, and then the season is just right to really bring about a change in our thinking and thought and put our people into action, because they have seen the darker side of going out of their respective states. And so now is the time is to convert them, and they will be really motivated to work for their own state. So they should immediately get down. The state should prepare whatever they can do with, let's say, with land or with the bamboo natural resources, whether it's dairy farming, whether it's with floriculture, whatever be it, they should immediately get down to brass tack plans and look for the resources. If they don't have the resources locally, go to the center or go to some other agencies or really see. And one possibility I can always see is that, we are always talking in terms of primary sector, but in one factory which is lying idle here is virtually we are not consuming the produce here is the BCPL, the plastic industry. I feel now the raw material is available in Assam, but the materials are not being utilized in the Northeast, although it was basically set up for serving the Northeast. And now we should immediately go to countries like Taiwan, Korea and all and think about plastics.
We will carry on, Swapnil Barua, we'll carry on with this conversation after thanking the two chief ministers. Let me go to Mr. Conrad Sangma. Mr. Conrad Sangma, now hundreds and thousands of our people who have been working outside the Northeast are returning home. Can we utilize our migrant workers, the returnees, who are returning with most of them with newly acquired skills, why can't the Northeast chief ministers meet and prepare a joint strategy or joint economic revival strategy rather? Can't we not utilize our people who had acquired, as I said, new skills outside? Can we do something about them? Mr. Conrad Sangma.
Yes, the migrant laborers who are coming in, I should say, are definitely going to be a strength for us. And we need to now see how we can use them in the local scenario and the local economic situation that we have in the region now. I think what is very important to really realize and understand is that given the circumstance that we have now, this is the time when we need to modify and adapt to the corona age, as we have been saying. And this is here to stay for some time. So we need to figure out how we will be able to adapt. And so the labor component will have to adapt. Our migrant laborers who were outside are going to come back. They have the skill sets. We need to use them. We may need to modify them a bit. Our local people, our local youth who are available out here, they can be trained and skilled up to ensure that we use their skills in the current scenario. And yes, I totally agree with you that if we need to really work on this and move forward, states need to come up with their plan, but I think there needs to be regional planning also, regional thought also. Certain things are common to all of us, and there are certain strengths that all of us have. So therefore, how do we balance both these factors out, but ensure that we always project ourselves as a region, I think is very important and key to our success in the long run. And I hope that this will happen soon. I have been obviously unofficially and officially, of course, also coordinating with all the chief ministers of the Northeast, and they have also been calling me. So we've been working very closely, even in this COVID situation. And I think even in the future, I'm very sure that all the Northeast governments will work together for the benefit of their state and the region as a whole.
Okay, it's very, very heartening to hear. That is a confirmation coming in from Meghalaya Chief Minister Mr. Conrad Sangma. There is already a coordination among the chief ministers of the northeastern region, even in this COVID crisis, which is a heartening thing to know really, because we have to fight this disease, the virus, medically, and we cannot allow or watch or look for an economic meltdown to happen. That is something which is going to be more disastrous. I would like to go, before thanking the two chief ministers, let me quickly go to Mr. Joramthanga. You said that, you made a very important point that Northeast needs to stand on their own feet. Question is, we have to, as Mr. Conrad Sangma has said we have to identify our strengths and weaknesses. Our strengths are our resources, handlooms, handicrafts. How can we be self-sufficient? And again, I'm asking you this question. Mr. Conrad Sangma said there's already coordination among the chief ministers. Do you think the 8 states needs to work together? Pujaram Thanga.
Exactly. For example, there is a large market outside. Outside means outside the state of the Northeast. That is inside India itself and in the other foreign countries. A lot of countries like to import the handloom manufactured goods, which we have done here in the Northeast.
Right.
Here, whether in Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Assam, Arunachal, Meghalaya, etc., etc. We are having a lot of handloom products of fine quality, which in other states of India, they like to buy it very much. And not only that, in other parts of the world, they like to buy it. So we have to coordinate together and promote this so that it can bring a lot of economic upliftment for the whole of the Northeast. And apart from that, the bamboo, now, as you know, it's our flagship program. We are trying to mobilize and revolutionize the economy of Mizoram by the local products of the bamboo. And apart from that, the same thing can be applied in the whole of the Northeast.
All right, I think those are very clear words coming from Pujaram Thanga. And in fact, I'd like to thank both Pujaram Thanga, the Chief Minister of Mizoram, and Mr. Conrad Sangma, the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, for coming on the show. You see, your presence, Mr. Sangma and Ms. Pujaram Thanga, your presence lends a lot of clarity to issues, and that is why it is so important for leaders like you to appear on these public programs like this, so that the viewers and the people, not only in your respective states but across the region, get to hear directly from you, and they can formulate, even in the private sector, whether it is business, whether it is the civil society, they can formulate their thought process and move ahead in their plans and programs to beat the crisis and prepare the Northeast for the days ahead. Once again, thank you very much for being on Northeast Tonight. Now, Swapnanil Barua, I think we have all heard the two chief ministers. I think there's a lot of clarity there. Mr. Joram Thanga began by talking about the need for the Northeast to stand on their own feet. Mr. Conrad Sangma as well as Mr. Joram Thanga, both of them saying that there indeed is a case for a joint or a common market in the Northeast, which is a region with a population of 45 million. What are your thoughts?
This market potential must really be put to work, because it is now or never. I think the opportune time has come now, and we should really go head on into making this common market of the northeastern states. In the process, we should not get into interstate competition, but use on our own strengths and really come on an agreed point that you will provide this, I'll buy this, I'll provide this, you will buy this. You know, this kind of competition unnecessarily, because the resources are more or less the same. It will be bamboo, it will be floriculture, it will be fruits, it will be vegetables and rice. So this kind of an agreement has to be done, and I think the time is the essence. They should immediately start and capitalize on this. As I said before, you know, you will be having, and you have also mentioned about this point, is that you will be having some specialized people coming in, especially from the hospitality sector.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that is definitely to be encouraged is that the COVID-free area or comparative COVID-free area of Northeast and Puja holidays are going to be at the end of October, when you'll have sufficient time, I think.
Absolutely.
And that is what I feel, is that now international tourists may not come in, but our people who have worked in the hospitality or the tourist trade outside the state already have links with those areas or those institutions, and they should immediately start contacting, because now it's the direct marketing age. You know, they can set up their own websites.
Perhaps that is true. It's a but whether it will all depend on the COVID situation, how well we have been able to manage, that will depend largely on that. And India has been doing a good job so far, but we'll have to wait and watch until tourism happens. But who knows, situation could be all right. I'll go for a break. On the other side, I'll be joined by veteran Congress leader and former Chief Minister, Mr. Tarun Gogoi. And of course, Nalin Kohli will be back with us. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Viewers, I am now being joined by veteran Congress leader and former Assam Chief Minister, Mr. Tarun Gogoi. I also have BJP national spokesperson and Supreme Court advocate Mr. Nalin Kohli back with us, and Mr. Swapnanil Barua, political analyst, is of course continuing on the program. Mr. Tarun Gogoi, welcome to Notice Tonight. You know, we have been discussing basically the Prime Minister's appeal made during his last address to the nation, where he has emphasized on the need to go local. Now we have been asking this question, I am asking this question to you as well. Go local India, how will this impact a region like the Northeast? Mr. Gogoi.
You see, local has been always, we have been emphasizing. Even today, even for a state like Assam, for the tea, coal, question is where the resources are available. So definitely it is a state where the natural resources are available naturally. There is a more prospect. So different states have the different resources. So accordingly, yes, that has been always the case. This is not for the first time. The local, for example, our Muga silk, our Mulberry silks, our Eri, which you don't find in any other states. So naturally, I don't find it is a new slogan. It is what you call old wine in a new bottle. You see, whether Karnataka is a different, even Gujarat, where diamonds industries are there, different industries are there. Some are oil, here oil, coal are there. So where is the question of local? I don't understand. Yes, local natural resources has to be exploited to the greatest. That I do agree.
Okay. Mr. Nalin Kohli, you know, in what way, in your view, can a resource-rich but economically underdeveloped region like the Northeast benefit from going local? You know, we are resource-rich, but we are economically underdeveloped. We don't have basic infrastructure. How can we benefit from going local? Mr. Nalin Kohli.
I've had the privilege of being associated with the Northeast for over 3 decades. Courtesy my father, and then, of course, for the assignments that my party did. And then, of course, my association with the state of Assam, both as its additional advocate general and working closely with Dr. Himanta Salman in terms of various elections that I've assisted the party on. So therefore, I have a little more than, I would say, average understanding, but I can't consider myself an expert by any standards. What I can say is that this is a phenomenal opportunity for the Northeast, because we need to bear in mind that under Prime Minister Modi, the vision was act east. It's not look east. That's not just merely looking, but it's act east. We need to build our whole capacities eastwards, because that opens a huge opportunity for the Northeast as a gateway to Southeast Asia. Now, when we say go local, it means identify at the local level what are those things that we can build and become part of the global value chain. So let's take the Northeast, for example. Turmeric from Meghalaya, and the Lakadong turmeric is well known for its properties and therefore takes it beyond. If we look at the Queen's variety of pineapple from Tripura and Meghalaya, if we look at Bhujaloka from Assam, it's a global spice. It's acknowledged globally as one of the finest peppers that you could look at. If you can look at fisheries, which means supply chain to the west, which means to the rest of India, and to the east to Southeast Asia. Rice capacity. There's so much, there's a unique Johar rice of, say, Assam. You look at the black rice of Manipur.
Right.
These are phenomenal. Ginger of Mizoram. So every state has something to do. And I've not even touched bamboo. I've not touched on so many hundreds of others. If I look at art and craft, if I look at weaving, if I look at the patterns, which are the tribal weaves that we have in the patterns, there's an enormous pool of biodiversity and talent and products that are available. And once we start building it, keeping in mind the global value chain and the supply chain, sky's the limit.
Right. Now, Mr. Swapnil Barua, very rightly listed we have, first of all, I regret a slight audio issue that we are having with Mr. Lanil Kohli, slightly poor audio, but we can, I think we can understand. But Mr. Swapnil Barua, Mr. Nalin Kohli had listed out all the strengths of the northeastern region, the specific item wise. He's talking about ginger,
Yes.
he's talking about the Lakadong turmeric in Meghalaya and so on and so forth. But why is it that we have not been able to, break the shackles and improve our economy, export, the value addition, this, so on and so forth, and we still lack the entrepreneurial skill?
I wouldn't say lacking
Or spirit.
The capturing the international market is a different ball game altogether, because you need your contacts in the different markets. Well, do we have that kind of an exposure is the issue. I don't think, had we had the exposure so long.
Is it exposure? Is it lack of government backing? Is it what?
I think a bit of government backing also, because let us say in the case of tea, because we had the links, in spite of being so remote 150 years ago, we could sell our tea at London. It is unimaginable there, and the commodities which Nalin has listed is of recent development in the commercial sense of the term.
Yeah.
I think there is somebody, we have not been able to establish the links with the market, as a result of which these...
So you are putting it in market linkage.
Market linkage, and
is
we
the key.
all see, the point is, Wasbir, is that we have an agency. Every state has its own agriculture corporation, but for the entire Northeast, we have had this agency called NERAMEC. I don't know how much NERAMEC should have been the leading agency which is taking the lead in these.
Let me take this to Mr. Torun Gogoi. Mr. Gogoi, go local. Go local means, I'm sure the Prime Minister is emphasizing on manufacturing locally and also consuming the locally manufactured products. Now, but Northeast continues to lack adequate infrastructure, most importantly, power. Now, will this be an obstacle according to you, Mr. Gogoi?
You see, no country in the world today can be 100% self-reliant. You see, for example, today we don't have a ventilators.
Yeah.
Should we not bring from the ventilators from others? We don't have a lot of technologies. Should we not bring that technology? So that I don't understand. Yes, you should emphasize, you see, for growing your skill, your what you call bringing new technology, so that all the benefits comes to the local or to our country. But no country can be 100% self-reliant. Today we don't have a self-reliance on our defense production. So, so same is the case in other countries also. Tea, for example, we have got better places. So many countries, they don't have a tea, so we have to what you call export tea. So no country can be so. Question is, wherever there is a natural resources, you have to be exploited to the largest extent by bringing even new technology or the latest modern technology.
Right. Now, Mr. Gogoi, what is your thought on a common market? We had Mr. Conrad Sangma and Mr. Joram Thanga on the show. They think it is possible. My question is, do you think we can develop a common market in the Northeast which has a population of 45 million? Mr. Gogoi.
I don't think common market will help us. Yes, we should try to have a common strategy, common planning, so that every state, because we are having in one region also. So if they go in the whole country, such concept of Eastern India different, Middle is a different, South Indian different, Western countries different, this type of completely what you call confining with a certain areas, I don't think it will be a feasible one.
Okay, I think this is a very interesting point this Mr. Torun Gogoi has made. He said that a common market may or may not be possible, but a common strategy is
of course.
definitely necessary. I'll come to you for your views on that, Mr. Swapnil Barua. Let me go to Mr. Nalin Kohli. With the emphasis on local getting official sanction now, Mr. Nalin Kohli, do you think the government of India should also provide the nudge, encourage Indian manufacturing companies to shift its attention to the Northeast, which has remained relatively free from COVID? We have about 250 cases maybe in COVID in a population of 45 million. Mr. Kohli.
This is, of course, something very positive. Compliments to the state of Assam for managing, in spite, a huge influx of people over the last few weeks. And I think your health minister, Dr. Sarma, and his entire team, the state administration, has geared up in terms of setting in place systems and processes to make it controlled and responsive. Irrespective, whenever a case has come, the response has been fast, it's been organized, and it's been well curated to continuous follow-up. So that's one good thing in terms of COVID management. That has prevented it from going further into the Northeast, because Assam, in that real sense, is the gateway, with so many states bordering it and the necessity to travel through Assam into the other states. That's one part of it. The second is, of course, in manufacturing, we need to bear in mind that there is a developmental platform that under the BJP is formed, which is NEDA, the Northeast Developmental Alliance. That's not a political platform. It's a platform where different states are getting together and talking about the developmental strategy. So it makes it a regional approach rather than a local approach of a state-wise approach. And Dr. Hemanta Biswa Sarma, as the chairman of it, I'm sure must be already looking at issues like this of how to make the best of the opportunities that are available to take the Northeast into the stride that the Prime Minister has called.
No, Mr. Swapnil Barua, Mr. Gogoi and Mr. Nalin Kohli had made very relevant points actually. Mr. Gogoi said that, a common market may not be possible or may not work, but nobody can say that a common strategy will be bad. So he is basically batting for a common strategy. So what do you make of this?
I mean, this commonality is definitely the core point of all the development process that is going to come into in the recent months, let us say, if not years. But one thing we must realize is that, all the potential has not been realized, of which Nalin had mentioned, is because the supply chain has not been very effective. I know of certain cases where industries, big corporations had come in to set up, food processing industries, but the supply chain was not effective. Now, this is an opportunity to really utilize the, that food security component and see that every field of the Northeast, which can be utilized for some purpose, a productive purpose, is used. And I also think that the Manrega, money which has been increased, has to be utilized by each state government to see that whatever is the supply potential items, they are concentrated in it, and people really are engaged in those kind of things than the normal, waste of money kind of industries that we keep on doing. You leave it to
you're basically saying we have to be choosy.
You use this opportunity. You have funds under Manrega. You have funds under, food.
We have to use them judiciously.
Use them judicially
and correctly.
And, do whatever is that value addition products that is possible. Please concentrate on that.
Let me go to Mr. Torun Gogoi. Our workers who are now returning home, according to you, do you think they will be an asset? Do you think they can be an asset, or do you think they are going to be a liability, as many of them may not have jobs, or many of them may not even return back? So how do we utilize them?
You see, definitely, if you utilize anybody or upgrade their skill also, yes. So every human being is an asset. Question is how much opportunity this country or the states, the government can provide. Yes. And you have got no other alternative. You have to accept them. These are my own brothers and sisters. Today they are in the distress. Why they have gone out of my states? They have gone out of states because they don't have a what you call livelihood, or they don't have a scope for employment here. That's why for their livelihood they have gone out of our states. Today, they have lost their job in their those state also, their livelihood also. So where they will come back? So naturally they will come back here. So definitely we will try to see how much we can absorb, how, or definitely some will also go back when they will see that the
Situation is
industries
improving.
are coming.
Absolutely. Definitely some will go back. Mr. Nalin Kohli, a lot of people will ask you this question. Let me also take the opportunity, since you are on the show. All the 8 northeastern states are either ruled by the BJP or its allies. Now, will the party and for that matter the central government lend the required nudge so that the 8 chief ministers meet and work together? I was asking this question to both Mr. Sangma as well as Mr. Joram Thanga. Mr. Conrad Sangma was very positive. He said that already there is discussions going on. So, now question is simple. Will the center or the BJP, your party, give the nudge to the 8 chief ministers to work together for a common market strategy to transform the region? Now, lakhs of migrant workers who have acquired skills outside have also returned home. Mr. Kohli.
Firstly, there are 2 points to this. The first is to imagine rest of India and the services sector without Northeast would be an impossibility. If it's hospitality, if it's entertainment, if it's in other services, people from, and very talented people from Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Arunachal, Assam, Meghalaya, they've all traveled there outside the region and made a mark for themselves across the entire Lincoln. So that's one part of employment opportunities that are there. The second is in terms of local labor. So that would be always an issue related to manufacturing. Then would you go for labor intensive or a capital intensive, labor less intensive? One approach, and I can't speak for it because that is really for each state government and that's for NEDA to have a wider consultation along with Government of India and its various schemes. But if we start picking up these certain areas, like I mentioned, of ginger or turmeric, or even if you talk of passion fruit in Mizoram, so if these are into food processing, that's a possibility because that makes rest of India and perhaps even international markets available. These may not be very labor intensive in terms of other things, but I think the movement towards that is there because Act East has led to a huge improvement of the infrastructure in the Northeast. The railway network is coming, roads have been expanded as never before.
Yes.
Funding has increased so much more, the outlay has gone up so much. So we are heading in that direction, it's obvious.
Okay, now let me go back to Mr. Tarun Gogoi. Final comments from you. Mr. Tarun Gogoi, do you think the northeastern state government should work together? Because I've been repeatedly asking this question because I want some clarity on this, both from the ruling party, people who are with the part of the BJP and its allies, as well as from opposition. Now, do you think the northeast state government should work together and evolve a common business and economic strategy? Mr. Gogoi?
Definitely, we should have some sort of a common strategy, common agenda. For example, even for tourism also. So whether tourism or some of the local industries also, we can have such a common strategy. We must have some sort of a, what you call, a common project also we can do. That is the whole idea was the donor ministry also. Because it is a link up, whether it were roads, whether connectivities. So these are link up unless there is a connectivities, unless there is a better communication. So the reason you can't improve. So that is important also, not only within the Northeast, even within the neighboring countries, including Bangladesh also we need, you see, because we have to go via anything has to not go directly to India, to Calcutta, unless it is just. So that's why you need certain cooperations, not only Northeast, even within that region also, in Bhutan or even Nepal or even Bangladesh also.
Right. Mr. Swapnil Barua, I am running absolutely short of time. What do you make of this conversation? We had people from the ruling party, we had people from the alliance partners We had a very important opposition leader in the region. What do you make of this? We got some clarity because, but what are your final comments?
I mean, I think everyone has realized that this is a great opportunity for really developing the Northeast. They really haven't been able to zero down on how to get about and not competing amongst themselves. So this is a time again to really sit down on the table, all of the chief ministers of the region, and decide on who will do what to, supplement each other for the overall development of Northeastern region, not only for themselves, but also as an exporting region from this area. Let us not be limited to tea. Let us export whatever is possible from this region, and also to utilize this manpower which you are getting back. They have had a bad time while coming back, I think, but they have also have the exposure to national markets now or to international marketing also maybe. So it's about time to really motivate them to stay behind, use their experience, and have this multiplier effect down the lane, and tell people that, look, these are the opportunities which are available in the rest of the country.
Absolutely.
Why can't we replicate it here?
Absolutely. I think it is time to get down to business. There is no time to waste. We have to look for opportunity in adversity, and I think adverse situations are sometimes the best moments that can pull a state or a region out of difficult situation. And we are talking about the difficult situation as far as our economy is concerned. For the last 7 decades or more, we have been living with a tag of being an economically underdeveloped region. I hope that can change. And already from the panelists on the show, whether it was Conrad Sangma, the Chief Minister of Meghalaya, whether it was Mr. Joramthanga, the Chief Minister of Mizoram, whether it was the veteran opposition leader, Mr. Torun Gogoi, the former Chief Minister, or whether it is the BJP's national spokesperson Nalin Kohli, who knows the Northeast rather well, or whether it is political analyst Swapnil Barua, everybody admits on one thing, that there is a huge opportunity waiting to be tapped. We hope that happens sooner than later. On that note, I thank all my panelists for participating in this very engaging discussion, and the viewers for watching the show. And of course, we will only hope that the Northeast emerges from this COVID crisis, for which we have to, of course, at this point in time, demonstrate very, very responsible behavior, and the rest will obviously follow. I thank the viewers for watching the show. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons, and Pius Group of Institution, Guwahati.